Brother Vijay, this one is directed to you.
Mhm.
Can you address some misconceptions people have regarding the Vedas and Yagnas? You know, there's a general tendency when you ask certain non members of the organization, they have this belief, this misconception that this is a Hindu thing. When they hear Vedic chanting, hearing predominance of Hindu bhajans, they're seeing a lot of murtis. They say that this is a Hindu thing. How can you respond with somebody and also some of the misconceptions other than these that I've highlighted? How can you address some of these and put it in its proper perspective?
Well, I don't know if I'll put it in its proper perspective, but I'll give you tidbits of what I have come across and what I've been, heard. For example, where Vedas are concerned, it is the opinion of many, and Arun will definitely, clarify some of this, and Akshay too, that women are not allowed to chant Vedas. And they went on to say, I mean, I was involved in an Ekadash Rudra Yagya a few years ago, and Akshay himself, and the priest was telling me, who is the head priest, he said, Vedam chanting, women should, it is written in some scripture, and maybe he did tell me the scripture. I can't remember because it didn't bother me, because guess what? Our beloved Bhagwan didn't have any objection against it. Also, where women should read or not read, I know for a fact that the spouse of, and Arun might be able to help me with this, Yagya Maitreyi, she was a scholar, a Vedic scholar. Gargi was also a Vedic scholar. And they challenged, they debated, very powerful Vedic scholars, they learned Vedas, and they were able to do it. And I think somewhere Bhagwan mentioned something about Gargi and as a lady who did Vedam chanting. So the first misconception about Vedam chanting, where women are concerned, we know that, look, it's baseless according to the Vedas. And Akshay and I had a small talk about it yesterday. And yes, Akshay, you're absolutely correct. It's baseless. There's no way, I think, in the Vedas, and I have not read the Vedas, I'm not qualified, but I don't think that, based on things that I've heard, Swami talk about, that women are not, barred from doing Vedam chanting. The other misconception that, and again, this is me growing up as a young man, caste, certain castes are not allowed to recite Vedam. It was only available or for the main caste, maybe the Kshatriyas or the Brahmin caste, and that was big at some point in time in Trinidad. Some of the local priests in the country, would say this. I heard these discussions, and of course, at the time, I wasn't equipped with any sort of understanding how to respond to these things. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, it might still be, embedded in some of the local, priests in their minds and hearts and what have you. That, look, you have to belong to a certain caste to be able to recite Vedam, and this might sound crude now, and I don't know if I should say this. There was a point in time when I heard that if someone that is not of the Brahmin caste were to hear Vedam chanted, they would actually pour hot oil in the ear of the individual. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this, but I've heard of that. So again, another big misconception. And another misconception, you have to be initiated by some great guru, into this part of Vedam chanting, which is another misconception. So Faiz, I think you mentioned, you went a little bit further and talked about murtis and sai centers and all this kind of stuff. And Akshay and myself, we've had to deal with some of these sort of these came to our attention. If it's going to confuse Westerners, and certainly it would, we, and this is coming from Swami, when Hislop, when they asked how should our center look, Swami said, put a simple picture of my picture, and he said, you don't even need a picture of me. This is what Hislop actually told us, what that Swami said. So yes, in our Sai Center, I think we should keep it simple. We should have a nice picture of Swami. We had all kinds of objections, Akshay and I have dealt with all kinds of stuff. We've had people put murtis. We've had to explain to them nicely and politely how, it could be a little bit confusing for newcomers. Then they objected against the chair we put there, and the funny thing is, there was a time when in our region people were even objecting about a chair. And strangely enough, Swami, I had a group from Atlanta, they were given an interview. And Swami was telling them, he said, yeah, I'm always at your center. I know who sings on Saturday. I'm sitting there listening to the bhajans. And of course, from the moment they heard that, the chair issue, for some, didn't have any traction at all. So these are some of the misconceptions that I can think of that we've had. And Faiz, concerning the murtis in the Sai centers, I think we should be very mindful of how we do it. I know there might be places in the country where they're predominant, Hindus or what have you, or Christians, and I don't know if it might be inappropriate for them to have a picture of Jesus or a picture of Buddha or picture. I don't see nothing wrong with it, I think, but the main altar itself should have Swami's picture. That's my opinion, Saira.
In the interest of time, I'm going to jump to the next question, Brother Arun.
But you didn't give Arun a chance. I left the room for them to respond to some of this, If you don't mind.
And then Brother Arun, Brother Akshay.
Yeah, I'll defer to Arun to maybe to comment on some of these misconceptions.
Yeah, I will just cover maybe a few points. I think Brother Vijay has exhaustively covered. I think first of all, see, we all, when we come to a Sai center, we should, I think first of all, we recognize that Swami as our teacher. I think if we are going to question what Swami has taught, then it's a problem.
Yes.
And number one. Number two, I think when we come into a Sai center, we should not think I am Hindu, someone is Christian. This prayer type is Hindu, this prayer type is Christian. Because those are preconceived ideas we have, what belongs to where. Swami has addressed this in Satya Sai Vahini. If anyone wants to learn, I think they should go and read it. Because Swami has come for Sanatana Dharma, and Swami does not distinguish that you are this, you are that. I think another thing is, as Brother Vijay has said, Swami has come to even reform some of the practices which have crept into even Sanatana Dharma. Like women should not chant and things like that. He gave the example of Maitreyi and Gargi. But there is a more modern example. Adi Shankaracharya went for a debate, with the scholar. And who was the judge? His wife, Ubhaya Bharati, was the judge. Swami has spoken about Ubhaya Bharati quite a bit. So for a woman to be the judge to decide whether her husband won or Adi Shankaracharya won, she should have some knowledge to understand what's being discussed. Fine, the husband was defeated. Then she challenged Shankaracharya and said, look here, I am half of him. So you have to win over me in debate before you can consider yourself a victor. And Adi Shankaracharya debated with her. Wow. So this is a more modern day. So the thing is, it is only in the past 1,000 or so years, out of fear and out of insecurity, and even the knowledge itself, Vedic knowledge itself was lost even in India. So Swami has come to reform this Sanatana Dharma, which belongs to everyone. Swami says there is one sun. There's no Chinese sun, Indian sun, Hindu sun, Muslim sun. It's the same sun. It's one discourse where Swami is talking. There is no American sun, Japanese sun. It's one sun. So I think whatever Swami has taught, we should respect it as Swami has taught. And Swami set the model, ideal of how things should be done in Prashanti Nilayam so that we can emulate. Otherwise, Swami doesn't have a need to have bhajans there every day. He doesn't need the bhajans. It was an opportunity for him to teach how people should pray, what they should pray. And this is all very important. The thing is, everyone says we have to chant Suprabhatam. If only they understood the meaning of Suprabhatam, then they will not neglect Vedas. Swami says, Deshantaragada Budhastava Darshanartham. In that word, Swami says, they're chanting Vedokta mantra patanena lasantya jasra. That means people have come from all sorts of countries and they are chanting the mantras which are prescribed in the Vedas. And then the Lord will appear and give them darshan. So, we are chanting this Suprabhatam, and if we don't understand the meaning, then we will get into this type of arguments, whether it belongs to any country or not country. Deshantaragata means every country, people come and chant Vedas in Prashanta Nilayam. This was composed by Swami's inspiration long time ago. So it's an integral part of how we worship Swami, and opportunity should be given. I think I will stop here. Sorry about taking too much time. Sairam.
Just a quick addition to that. I remember listening many years back. They had a workshop on the Vedas in Prashanti, and it was available on radio side. And I was listening, and one of the comments made was, a rishi is someone that's tuned into the Vedic message and emanates it from his mouth, right? So they mentioned in the workshop there's over 400 known rishis that emanated the Vedas, and of those, there's about 30 or 40 that were women. So there were women that tuned into these mantras and brought them to humanity. 30 or 40, and they call them rishikas. So that alone should answer the question. And not only can they learn the Vedas, but they can be tuning into the Vedas. They can be at that elevated level where they can tune in to the Vedas. So that, I think that could put that issue to rest as well.
Thank you very much, Brother Akshay. And I stand to be corrected. Didn't Swami also talk about the Gayatri mantra, that it was limited to specific people chanting it?
So So excuse me, brother. I will there was a thought. I hope you permit me to say something.
Please.
See, if you're talking about, anyone can chant. Swami's, if Swami gave Gayatri initiation in public. But one thing Swami has repeatedly said is, if you want to chant the Gayatri and if you want to study the Vedas, you should have the discipline which a Brahmana goes through. That discipline of how you conduct your life, what is your daily, what you eat, what you do with your life, all that has to be followed. The niyama and nishta, Swami has talked about it. That discipline has to be followed. So anyone who undertakes that discipline, they are free to study, chant the Gayatri, learn the Vedas, but you should live like a Brahmana. Even if you are not born in a Brahminic family. Sorry, I hope I didn't disturb you. Please, sorry for the interruption, brother.
Yeah, Arun, can I say something? Faiz?
Yeah.
I think, Arun, kindly say what a Brahmin is or who is a Brahmin, because people may get this misconception or misunderstanding that a Brahmin is just a person born out of a family with a name. So define Brahmin, because I think this is critical here.
So a Brahmana, a child born in a Brahmin family is also called Shudra. That means you're not following any rigid discipline.
Yes.
But a child, when it's initiated into Gayatri, it is given certain set of rules to follow. The type of food they eat. They need to, actually initially they should only beg and eat. That means poverty is something so simple living is something. You don't go everywhere and eat. You are, ahara vihara, Swami says, your food and entertainment and activities should be very, very restricted. And you have to do Sandhya Vandanam 3 times a day. If you go to Dharma Vahini, Swami talks about what a Brahmana should do. There is one chapter about what a human being should do, how they should wake up, at what time they should wake up, what they should do in the morning. So Sandhya Vandanam is important. Food and activities, it has to be fully disciplined. So these are basic things. We can go over in details, but I would say food and your entertainment and activities leisure activities should be very, very disciplined and curtailed to a great extent. Then you are qualified to be a Brahmana. So if actually anyone who wants to take up study should live like a Brahmana. I think that is Swami has, so in one discourse, I think in the late 60s, Swami says, the Brahmanas have 3 advantages, Swami says. One is the knowledge of language. They learn the Sanskrit. Then their disciplined life. Okay. And the third one is the community from which they learn. These 3 advantages they have. So we have to create these 3 for ourselves. So we should learn the language so that we understand and we do everything properly. Study the Shastras with the company around and lead a very disciplined life. I think whatever discipline Swami has given is more than sufficient. If we follow the 9-point code of conduct and instructions Swami has given in different, if we follow that, we are a Brahmana. I think that's my understanding. Of course, different degree, I think all of us may not practice everything, but I think we should strive towards that. That's my understanding. I hope I...
Wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. Not to labor too much on the point, but I remember Swami also said that you are determined to be a Brahmin, not so much by your birth, but by your qualities, your values, and as you said, the way of life that you live. So is it based on that definition that a Muslim could be considered a Brahmin, a Christian can be considered a Brahmin by the quality and the righteous life that he lives? And I think, Brother Vijay, it was so good that you brought up that question so that we can have it clarified and not misunderstood by viewers where the definition of a Brahmin is concerned.
Faiz, I'm going to interrupt also. I apologize. But that you mentioned, and because you were born as a Muslim and you mentioned Muslim, Swami in a discourse said, Prophet Muhammad is a rishi, and he because he tuned in and was able to give the world the Quran, which is a Veda. So Swami has said the Quran is a Veda and Prophet Muhammad is a rishi.
Wonderful and beautifully said, actually. And I remember, not again to labor too much, and when Swami was opening the mosque for the Muslims in October 1977, he said that the Holy Quran was revealed directly to the Holy Prophet Muhammad, just as the Vedas were revealed directly from God to man. So it corroborates what you've just said. So we move on to the next question, and it is to Brother Arun. Brother Arun, Sanskrit is a foreign language. Pronunciation of words are difficult, and we don't understand the meaning of every word. Will it be okay if these chants are translated and then chanted like other prayers?
I think, what I'm going to share is you can take it as personal opinion with little information learned from Swami. The reality is every sound has certain vibration, and the rishis have strung together words and sounds in such a way that they're very potent. Okay, so by translating it to another language, we will miss that vibrational quality, because even maybe it can be translated, like, we were just talking about Prophet Muhammad revealing the Quran, but they were tuned at such a level that they could discover from the Lord and share it with humanity. So the thing is, it's just the way Quran has to be, chanted in Arabic, because it has certain potency. Anyone who listens, they will be transported by mere listening. As Brother Akshay was saying, when it's chanted properly, just like a child will drink milk and benefit, anyone will be listening and benefiting. So that vibrational quality of the Vedic chant will be lost. Number one. Number two, we already discussed there are many layers of meaning in the Vedas. Okay, you can peel and peel and peel. That's the way the sound and the words are composed in Sanskrit. So when you translate, it becomes one layer only will be translated, and you will not have the multiple layers of meaning. That will also be lost. especially if the translation is by a person who is not tuned in. So these are my personal views of what will be the lost by the translation. Maybe you can cultivate the bhava. See, sometimes translations can help for you to express the bhava, because you will understand the meaning differently. But the thing is, that's only one layer of meaning, and it may not let you progress. That is why Swami himself has insisted, let everyone learn Sanskrit and learn the meaning. And through that process, it's a journey. It's a lifelong journey. Every year we may understand different meaning from the same mantra. And that's the advantage. That's my understanding. Sai Ram, brother.
Brother Vijay?
Yeah, on the same note, as Brother Arun was explaining, a thought just came to me. Maybe most of the misconceptions we have today or misunderstanding about religion is because of the same reason that the saint and the sages and from all religion who received the whatever the instructions from God, came to them because they were in a pure state of consciousness. And when we translate this down the road, you have all kinds of people translating their work. Arun is right. You miss a lot of the translation. It is misconstrued. And today we have, sorry to say this, a warped understanding of these sacred texts, these sacred scriptures. Because again, Bhagavad Gita was spoken to Arjuna directly from God. Muhammad, heard it from the voice of God. The Quran, and I'm so sure the same thing with Moses and receiving, the Bible from God himself. So, when we come down the road and we have people who are not living, that life of purity, so to speak, and they start dabbling, trying to translate and put their own opinions, we have a very, very confused set of scriptures that are translated incorrectly, and which causes a lot of confusion, because impure hearts and minds go into the translation, and people's own opinions makes things so convoluted that we have all the problems we have in the world today, right? So that is and coming back to the point, Arun, I want to ask you this question now. Sorry, Vice, because Arun's translation answer prompted something from me. So Arun, is it dangerous for someone to recite Vedam incorrectly?
So it's a very it's a very important question, because many people ask this question. I think it applies to anything in life. When you're dabbling with something which is very powerful, it can cause harm. Like, if you're working with 220 volt electricity, if you don't take the precautions necessary, you can harm yourself and you can harm others. If you go to a nuclear power station, you can't just go and do what you can do anywhere else. So the reality is, Vedic mantras, there are different levels of potency. And so if one miscalculation, if we do not inadvertently do, it can cause problem. So because of that, that is one of the reasons the Brahmins never shared it with people, because they felt people can harm themselves and others. Because some of them, like the nuclear power, if it's in the wrong hands, it's, they can cause a lot of, so they are very powerful potents, as you know. Many of these mantras were used as weapons. Brahmastra, Agnayastra and all. So they were all powered by mantras. You can harm. They are nuclear weapons, they are like bombs, some of them. So the rishis handle with a lot of care. So the insulation, you wear rubber boots or whatever, is the type of life you live. So that you don't cause harm to yourself and you don't harm others. So that is the reality. And I think when we sincerely learn, we may make a few mistakes. That's why, every day, after every chant, we chant a mantra to, ask for forgiveness. Yadakshara pada brashta matra hinam, like that, Chamyata means ask for forgiveness. Because that is, as a student, Swami will take care of it. He will say what you can handle, how to handle, and he will be the protective force. As long as we are sincere in what we are doing and we want to improve. And if we had to improve, he will provide the resources so that, as Brother Akshay said, the mantra itself will bring us the people who will teach us to chant it correctly. And I think ours should be effort and sincerity. I think if you put Swami, he'll say, I will take care of it. Like he's the mother, he will take. That's my understanding, Brother Saira.
So,
Thank you.
Arun, just to add a little bit of what Brother Vijay said, if you chant the Gayatri mantra, but your intention is pure and there's bhav, there's feeling, there's love, but in chanting it, you make a little mistake in the pronunciation. As you so rightly said, the grace of Bhagwan will be there to receive it and then maybe direct you as to how it should be chanted correctly. So the intention is important, and the bhav, the feeling, the devotion is just as important as well.
So one point, brother. Suddenly I remembered, again, the First World Conference. In that, Swami, I think first discourse or second discourse, Swami is telling, lead better. I don't know whether you all know, he is one of the Theosophical Society founders. Swami is quoting him, and he has said, when the Gayatri is chanted right, it will create effulgence around. If it is chanted wrong, it will bring darkness around you.
Oh my gosh.
These are words of Swami. You can go back and read in 1968 First World Conference. So Swami says, if it's chanted wrong, you can be engulfed by darkness. If you chant it right, you'll be engulfed by light. These are Swami's words. You can, if you want, I will send you the exact discourse. But I think it is one of the discourses during the First World Conference.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. So we are really playing with divine, powerful tools there.
Including Gayatri, including Swami. So I think it is 16th May 1968, if my memory serves well, that's the discourse. You can go and read it. I think one of those, 16th, 17th, or 18th. But I have read those, because I remember those discourses because my father read it when I was a small kid. And as soon as he read, the next day he was starting to look around places we had to learn Sanskrit. And he enrolled me to learn Sanskrit and my brothers when I was hardly 5 years old.
Wow.
So my father always used to quote those discourses when I was growing up. So I remember.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for sharing, Brother Akshay.
Yeah, this issue of the need for correct pronunciation, I think it's something I think we've all thought about, especially those of us that are learning on our own and coming into it later. And I think it's very important to achieve the most benefit and to avoid potential harm and unwanted consequences, like Brother Aruna said. And I think, to me, it reminded of a scientific experiment. You have the analogy of a scientific experiment. If you're going to do an experiment, you need to place the ingredients in a certain quantity, in a certain order, right? In the manner in which they're introduced. How do you introduce the ingredients? What does it come into contact with? If you want to arrive at a certain goal, you have to be very, very scrupulously following those directions. And if you don't carefully follow that scientific experiment the way it's supposed to, your goal can either not be reached, or you could have an explosion in the lab, right? So I think chanting the Vedas, like Brother Aruna says, is so powerful, and some of that applies to that. It has to be done in a certain way, and otherwise unintended consequences can occur, and they can be harmful. Now, of course, His grace is always there. So I think, again, it comes down to Bhava. If we're chanting for world peace, if we're chanting for unselfish reasons, if we're chanting with love, with faith, with innocence, His protection will be there. And He will help us get to that goal, even if we chant it wrong. But if we're chanting the Vedas, if we're doing a yagna for our personal gain, for our selfish results, then you better chant it correctly, because then you're on your own. And when you're doing something selfish, Swami turns the other way. When you're doing something selflessly, he engages and supports and sustains you.
Well, I just want to add one thing. It is no wonder why he said the emperor of all sadhana is seva. So I don't think we can really go too wrong with seva. Seva in the sense that if we just go ahead and lovingly serve the needy, I don't think we can go too wrong with that. But as a bonus to everything, it would be nice if we can understand, Vedam chanting, have a correct teacher to be able to teach us, so that we can do it nicely and do it, purposefully, and to sanctify our own lives and the community.
So, brother, fortunately by Swami's blessing, my choice of the discourse is right. If you permit me 2 minutes, I can just read. If it's okay, otherwise I will skip.
Please.
So it is 16th May 1968. I will just read the paragraph. Vedbhatta has declared that the correct recital of the Gayatri Mantra with the orthodox Udatta, Anudatta, Swarita, that is modulation of the voice, higher, lower, and even accents, can produce experientiable and authentic illumination, whereas incorrect pronunciation and wrong accent result in thickening of darkness.
Oh my gosh.
Therefore, instead of scoffing at the disciplines of recitals, meditations, prayers, formulary worship, and mantra utterances, their values have to be accepted and the results tested and confirmed by practice and exercise. These are words Swami uttered during the first inaugural discourse for the World Sri Sathya Sai organization in 1968.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Your question suddenly brought back my memory. So I thought I would just check. Yes,
and I think what is a great, great blessing is that the avatar himself in relation to the Gayatri has chanted it. So we know exactly, if we follow exactly how he chants it, we can extract the fullest benefit. And as Akshay said, your intention, your sincerity, and your love. So when you put all three together, you can extract the maximum benefit. So having the avatar's voice, you follow that and you can never go wrong. Our next question, mostly directed to Brother Vijay. Are there any life disciplines needed for chanting these Vedic mantras? I know we've been talking a little bit.
Arun has nicely spoken of all of that, but just to reiterate what he said, it's you should stay away from interdicted food and drink and stuff like that, and of course your intentions first. I believe that you should find a guru, find a teacher who is capable enough to teach you, right? Now, again, Arun might be well versed with this. There are many gurus in the world today. We've had, I think Dattatreya had how many gurus? I don't know how many, but there are many, many gurus that you can adopt. But again, we're not talking that we're at that level to really tuned in to getting a guru like this. But I think it is good that you find a guru who is, and a respectable guru who is versed, who is qualified, and probably seek his blessings and get his guidance to teach Vedam chanting or whatever. Now Akshay is telling me, look, he just had to appeal to his tape deck or his CD player. And I'm certain, again, if bhavam is there, if his good intentions there, his purity is there, that is what is he's doing work as a physician. He has barely any time to go to some temple and find a guru. So he's making the best use of the time that he has and the way that he can adopt to learn Vedam. And again, who are the teachers? I'm sure he's learning from the students. People like Vidnarayan, who have put off, Radio Sai, CDs on Vedam chanting. And these are tested. These were done correctly. The teachers, the elders, guided the process of recording these CDs. So I don't see any harm in that. And I don't know much either. So what I think the discipline is there. Arun has, as I said, give us wonderful ideas, and he could, reiterate it, that is necessary, because what is the purpose of all of this at the end of the day? It is to make us, to get us in tune with ourselves, our higher self, right? We are the Atman, and the Atman is one, Paramatma. And that is what we want to, that is the purpose of the Vedas, to purify us to the level that we can be in tune with the higher self. And whatever sadhana that we can follow, and respectfully and lovingly, and to help us with that, I think it's important that we follow the right disciplines necessary. So I defer again to my two brothers to tell us about the disciplines, other disciplines that they may be more familiar with.
I think I don't want to repeat, I think I've already covered amply whatever I can. I don't know if Brother Akshay has something to say.
Yeah, I think Brother Uno covered it beautifully. The only thing I could think of is maybe the most important discipline is having a noble desire. If you really have the desire to do something noble, Swami will make it happen. So if that desire is, I want to learn the Vedas, somehow he'll make it happen. So I think we can control our purity of thought and intention for something noble, and then he'll let the chips fall to let it happen.
Thank you very much, brothers. The next question, mostly directed to Brother Arun. Can't we progress spiritually if we don't learn these Vedic chants or make these part of our daily prayers?
See, if we read Gita Vahini, Swami quotes Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna says, in the people who want to give up activities, say they are following the path of, jnana or devotion or something. Swami says, Krishna says, I don't accept them. People who, in the name of giving up action, if they leave out fire rituals, these were the words. If they're giving up fire rituals, I do not accept them as my devotees. Okay, the reality is sometimes our pseudo philosophy should not take over. Because that's my view. But the thing is, can we progress? I think, as Brother Akshay said, if the noble desire to progress is there, every action also can become Vedic action. So is Swami, there are so many ways to reach the Lord, but these are time-tested processes which the rishis have laid down. And even if we want to do seva, as Brother Vijay was saying, how we have to do seva is also taught by the Vedas. That, selflessness, offer it to the Lord. Even these concepts actually have come from the Vedas. So it's not that somebody has to learn to chant the Vedas and that's the only way they will. Swami will say Sabari, who was an illiterate woman, also has gotten. Swami, there's a verse where he gives different people, devotees, who didn't know anything, illiterates. They also reached because they had love. So I don't think this is the only path, but this is a path for those who are interested, number one. Number two, and I think Swami came to re-establish the Vedas and this for posterity. So at least a few people have to volunteer to take care so that can be passed on to the future generations. So as a seva, that can also be done. So there are multiple levels in which an organization can engage and people can engage depending on our aptitudes, our interests, what appeals to us. I think that's the way I would say. So I don't think this is the only way. Without this, you will not reach God. I don't think that's right. But I think it has to be an integral part of an organization, and it should be people who are interested should keep it up so that future generations will benefit. As a seva, as a gratitude, as a debt which we owe to the law, rishis. That's my view. And Swami has said, even if you don't, you need to support. He says, if you are not learning, support the Brahmins. That is a duty. Which Swami himself has, he will bring the Brahmins who are following a very religious, very rigorous life. he will support them, encourage them. That also we can do. I think that is non-negotiable, because that is part of looking after the society we should do. I think that's the way I understand. I will stop here, Sairam.
Can I say something, Arun? I remember two things I want to share. I remember Swami said this. He said to the Brahmins, he said, they can get anything they want from me because they've given their youth to me. And simply saying the same thing that you've said, because they've, from a very young childhood days, they started on this path, and they religiously followed the Vedic injunctions by what they're doing. So that's why Swami said, because they've given their youth to me, they can ask of me anything. The second point I want to make is that I remember an incident that Dr. Goldstein shared with us some years ago. He said when he came to Prashanti and he, found Swami, or Swami found him, so to speak, he said he was always looking at, all the sadhanas that have been performed by the elders in Parthi and the devotees, and he would never have the time to do any of these because he was so busy with his medical practice, with organizational work. And so he one day, accosted Bhagwan and said, Swami, I don't have time for this. And Swami says, don't worry about meditation and all this stuff. He said, just do your duty. Do your organizational duty. That is enough for you. So again, I just wanted to say this, that, Swami is very particular in whatever vocations that you follow, as long as it's noble, as long as it's, you're doing something for society, you're doing something for the right reasons, you can find a way. I am not the one that's going to say that, following this path is going to give you liberation. Maybe in your next life, you might be higher up the ladder to enjoy, deeper stuff like meditation and proper Vedam chanting. But Swami said it. So I'm comfortable with, if you do your duty that is, prescribed for you, and you do it, as Krishna said, do it with all the right reasons for doing it, selflessly, I think you can definitely win God's grace, and God's grace can do anything for you.
Brother Akshay?
Whether you have to do it or not, I think this analogy that's coming to me, and sometimes I may not have the best analogy, so you can always edit this out, but this is the analogy that's coming to me. It's to say your goal was to farm your land, right? You can farm your land with hand and farm the field with your hand. You can learn how to use a spade and farm with the spade. You can be gifted a motorized tractor and farm your land with the tractor, right? In the end, the motorized tractor is very, very powerful, and it may allow you to get to the goal faster. But again, you have to learn how to use the tractor. If you don't properly learn how to use the tractor, you can harm yourself, you can harm your land. So there's pros and cons. So if you're willing, as Brother Arun said, to follow the discipline and all of that, and then the tractor is there, it's available for you to use. But if you're petrified to use the tractor, you don't know if you're going to use it properly, then use the spade and lovingly farm your land. You're still going to end up farming your land. So that's the thought that came to me.
Good. It's good.
Wonderful. And I remember Swami saying, if you're a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you're a Hindu, be a good Hindu. If you're a Christian, be a good Christian. So we may have different paths, but the goal is the same. But before we move on quickly, I just want to ask Brother Arun a question. Swami once said that the essence of the Vedas is the Gayatri mantra. You could forget any other mantra, but never forget the Gayatri. So if someone does not learn the other Vedic mantras, or they know very few, but they focus only on the Gayatri mantra in their meditation, prayers before meals, taking a bath, the essence of it is the same.
So Swami has quoted the saying, Gayatri Chandasa Mata. Gayatri is the mother of the Vedas. So That is why Gayatri is initiated in every child who wants to learn Veda is initiated in the Gayatri, because by reciting the Gayatri, you will understand the Vedas. You'll master the Vedas, understand. So without the Gayatri, that's the key to unlock the wisdom in the Vedas. That is the belief, and that Swami has repeated that. So Gayatri by itself will give the opportunity for you to learn. It'll bring the knowledge, make you understand and all that. But I also want to talk about the previous question. I was reminded of an anecdote. I don't know whether many of you have heard of Professor Nanjundaya.
Yes.
Nanjundaya was the examination controller. He had been teaching in the Vrindavan, then he taught in Puttaparthi. He became the examination controller. But one of the things he did was he was a translator of Swami's discourses for a long time. Before Mr. Anil Kumar started, it was Professor Nanjundaya who used to translate. So in the early 1970s, he had gone with Swami to Hyderabad for the inauguration of Shivam or something. And what happened was, they were in one building, they were all staying. And every day, Kamavadani Garu, who was there, who is the one who is to chant the Vedam, apparently, whenever Swami will be having shower, he will sit outside the room and chant the Rudra. Because he will say, Swami is having Abhishekam, I am chanting Rudram. That's the way the Kamavadani Garu was doing. So Professor Nanjundaya was seated and he was feeling so repentant and, self-pity took over. He said, I don't know the Rudram. He's so lucky. He's learned the Vedas, chanting the Vedas. And, Swami is having shower. I don't know whether I will ever, get anything out of my life for having neglected this. And apparently Swami, after that day, Swami got ready and Swami was coming out. When Swami came out, and he actually, Nanjundaya was praying, Swami, give me the opportunity to learn Rudram and chant like this and all that. So Swami apparently came and he looked at Kamavadani Garu and asked him, Kamavadani, this Vedam, Rudram and all you are chanting, is this necessary? What is the best for one to reach God? So that was the question posed by Swami. So Kamavadani Garu said, it seems, Swami, your name is the most important one. So the thing is, if you don't know the Gayatri and you can't chant, the name of Sai itself is sufficient.
Yes.
Us who are following. So from that only the Gayatri comes, and from the Gayatri the Vedas come. So
yes.
See, we can chant the name and he may give us an opportunity to learn the Gayatri and so on. So that is his blessing. That's all I can say.
Very good. Beautifully said.
Beautiful. Can I, Faiz, if I can add something?
No.
So I'm, the mantra Om, nothing is more powerful than Om, right? So that's even simpler than the Gayatri, right? So we could just chant Om. I think what happens is our mind is so fickle, right? At least I can speak for myself. I can only chant Om so many times and maybe fall asleep or start thinking about something else, right? So I think part of this is these mantras are designed to stimulate us, keep us awake, could put a rein on the mind, control the mind, direct the mind, all of this. So it enables us to do it longer and better and facilitates the chanting. But yes, if you have the bhava and the one-pointed focus to just say Om, that's sufficient. That's more than sufficient.
So thank you very much, brother. It's very, very interesting, thought-provoking discussion. Our next question. We have learned to chant a few of the Vedic chants, but we don't know their meaning. Is it necessary for us to know the meaning of these Vedic chants to benefit from them? Isn't just chanting or listening sufficient to gain all the benefits?
Yeah, Brother Faiz, I think we've covered a lot of that. And, if you were to ask me, a child starts learning Vedam, this child didn't have a clue what he's chanting. But the good teacher, of course, teaches him properly, the right pronunciation. So much so that the child develops the correct ear, how to listen and how to pronounce, right? And as Arun said, before, the benefit will come. There's no doubt that understanding the meaning is going to be much more beneficial, but in the case of a child, and most of us, where Vedas are concerned, we are children. In the case of the child, if you have the proper teacher, the proper pronunciation is done, the child has the correct ear to listen and understand it and to repeat it properly, I think it's very, very beneficial for the child going forward. I think later on, when the child grows up and decides to delve deeper and learn maybe Sanskrit or whatever, he can have a much more deeper or in-depth understanding of Vedam chanting. But yes, it will benefit. The child is because at the end of the day, the child is not like us. I'm talking about 5-year-old, 6-year-old. They don't have the confusion that we have, or they've been exposed to what we have been exposed to. Their minds are still pure and calm. So adding the Vedam to that, it makes them, they'll benefit immensely from this practice. Sayonara.
When it comes to just listening or chanting without knowing the meaning, or chanting with knowing the meaning, I think they're all beneficial, and I think there's a gradation of immersion into what you're doing. Unity of thought, word, and deed that comes into play. And the analogy that's coming to my mind is doing seva, right? You can do seva with your mind, and you could do seva by wishing hungry people get fed, right? Now, you could be at such a high vibrational level where that could manifest that person getting benefit, right? Our thoughts are powerful. So a good thought will influence someone. And the more focused your mind, the more elevated you are, the more powerful your thoughts are going to be. The next level is you can use your words to do seva. You can tell somebody how to do seva. You can verbally, instruct people on doing seva. And that's powerful to a certain degree and in a certain way. Or you can get your hand, roll up your sleeves and toil and do the seva, and now you're having your thought and your word and your deed, and that's so much more powerful. So I think that analogy can apply to the Vedas. Yes, listening is powerful. Listening without knowing the meaning, chanting is even more powerful, but then chanting and knowing the meaning with the right bhava is making you at the level where you're most likely going to get to your results. Sayonara.
So, brothers, the other question, Brother Arun, what advice would you give to someone who is drawn to the Vedas and wishes to learn but doesn't know how to start?
I think, brother, I think there were many points. Like Brother Akshay is a great example of, how to go about.
Okay, brother, can I interrupt 1 second?
Yeah.
Faiz, I just want to let our listeners know that Brother Aruno is the chair of our Zone 1 Vedas Chanting Committee. So this is the perfect question. He's been working for the balance of the year, giving this thought and seeking advice of other devotees and setting up meetings and talks and all these types of things. So I'm really happy you asked Brother Arun this question.
Okay, thank you very much, Akshay. So the thing is, there are already resources available for the most sincere one. If you seek, you'll find. Especially, Swami has made it available. But what we are trying to do as a zone is we have collected the names of centers where Vedas chanting is being taught. And we're also trying to organize workshops and seminars, which will be happening in the next. We are in the process of planning a curriculum of sorts, so how people can slowly, from a beginner level, how they can advance with more and more complex mantras, how they to learn and chant them. We're also hoping to organize seminars where people will expound the meanings to some extent. These are actually going on in different pockets already available. We're just collecting information and gathering information of what's going on. Through that process, we are hoping to have some sort of a clearing house of sort. If people want, I want to learn, and if they can reach out to their president and the presidents can reach out to us, and we will be able to point to the places where they can go and learn, or even provide access to resources if they are unable to have a one-on-one person to learn from. So these are things which are in the works. Hopefully with Swami's guidance, we will have a bit more concrete pathway to people who are seeking to learn very soon. Things have been very slow because there's so much, there's so many resources, so many things. And when we do it, we want to do it as well as possible, so people get the proper guidance, go to the right sources, and learn the right way. So that is something which we are working on. Maybe a bit slow, but hopefully within the next few months, we will have something in place, Saira. I hope that answers your question sufficient.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I think I am going to be signing up.
Me too.
Any of the other brothers would like to contribute on that question before we move on to the final question?
Thank you.
Okay. So what is it regarding the upcoming Yagna in Trinidad that we are most looking forward to? Can the panel highlight the specific benefits that would accrue from conducting such a yajna? And maybe we can look at it from an individual, a family, a national, a country, and a world perspective. How is this yajna going to benefit people at all the different levels?
Well, let me just take a stab at this question first. I think it's a two-way street. I think it is preparation. If you want, and this is maybe a crude analogy, if you want to get water and you're going to a tap or a faucet or something, you can take a thimble with you, and that's as much as you can probably collect, as well as you can take a bucket, and you can get much more, which you can share, for many. So similarly, I think on one side, the yajna, the devotees who are going to be attending, preparation is a must. How well you prepare, how well you want to appreciate it, having some understanding of why it has been done, the reason for it being done. And if you feel that, look, your contribution as a devotee can help in bringing, what we said it's going to be for unity, for peace, for global, harmony and what have you. If you really want to prepare yourselves to contribute from a devotee standpoint, it is going to benefit you, right? On the other side is the priests, so to speak, or those who are going to be chanting the Vedam, who are going to be guiding and directing us. They also have to be equipped. They have to be learned, of course. They have to, have good intentions as well. And if we can, combine both these forces together, the people who are going to receive and contribute, and the person who are going to guide us through it, if we both can have a combined effort with good intentions, with the proper intentions, I think all will benefit. I think our families will benefit, individuals will benefit, the world will benefit. But it must not be treated lightly. We don't have time to waste. We're living in some very, very difficult times where we have seen, the crazy things that are happening politically. We've seen what Mother Earth has unleashed on mankind in terms of floods, in terms of fires, in terms of so much destruction. Never yet, I'm telling you the truth, brothers, I have never seen in history where we've had in the last decade, soon as Swami left us, so much natural disasters and problems, all coming one after the other. So I think it's incumbent upon all, those who are going to be leading us and guiding us, and us who are going to be attending, to really work in harmony for the benefit of all. Sayonara.
Brother Akshay?
Yeah, I think individually, I'm really looking forward to the fellowship of being together with devotees, chanting together with the fellow Sai brothers and sisters for the benefit of all. What can be more fulfilling? I think, you know, and also I'm looking forward to listening to the talks, see what Brother Srived Narayan has to say. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being in the natural beauty, the hills of Trinidad. I think having a yagna in that natural setting is very conducive to have that proper vibration. I think what Vijay mentioned was we should all prepare for this. It's a couple of months away. So we really need to start our preparatory actions now. And we're going to try to recommend everybody chant the Sai Gayatri every day, have some positive thoughts, prepare ourselves. So then when we get together, we're already tuned in and help to contribute this collective event. And I think, you know, from a simple level, we're generating positive vibrations. We're generating positive vibrations and emanating them into the atmosphere. So the country of Trinidad is going to benefit, the West Indies is going to benefit, the world is going to benefit. And the more we focus and prepare and have love in our hearts, the stronger those vibrations will be. And so I'm very, very grateful to have this opportunity to take part in this event. Sairam.
Brother Arun?
Sairam, brother, you know, I think they have already touched the individual benefits and so on. Just one comment I have, you know, when it rains somewhere else in the world, they may be able to produce food, and you know we have to import, and we can also share in that. But nothing like bringing the rains home to this region. As Brother Akshay said, you know, Trinidad will benefit. If Trinidad benefits, places around will benefit. We do not know the magnitude of benefit which we will derive, because it is beyond our imagination or understanding. It's just that we have brought it closer to home, and that's all matters, I think. So I think it creates another center of energy, which will exude for places around it with much more intensity than it coming from somewhere else. I think with those, that's what I have to add, Silent.
You know, it brings to mind this beautiful saying of Swami that sort of encapsulates what you all have said. If there's righteousness in the heart, there will be beauty in the character. When there's beauty in the character, there's harmony in the home. When there's harmony in the home, there will be order in the nation. When there's order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. So it really begins with each and every one. And as Brother Vijay said, and Brother Akshay, if we prepare ourselves and really sincerely, devotively express this devotion from the individual, it can expand throughout the world. And when Brother Arun was talking, I remember listening to a talk recently where a gentleman was saying that he was referring more to like a teacher teaching a child. And you will never know the impact, for example, our SSC teachers and the children. You will never know the impact that your teaching and awakening of the values would have. And he said, if you cut an apple, you could check the number of seeds that are in the apple, but you could never know the number of apples that would come from each seed. And so too, I feel with this yajna, we will never ever know the impact for generations that it will have in promoting righteousness. So brothers and sisters, as we come to the end of this wonderful panel discussion on prayers and yajnas, I want to leave it open for each brother to make a few closing remarks, and then we'll bring this wonderful discussion to an end. And I want to start with our zonal chairman, Brother Akshay.
Sainam, thank you, Faiz, for putting this together. It's been really a treat to be able to sit here with Arun and Vijay and hear from them and share with them. And Very excited about this program that's coming, and just grateful to Swami for putting all of this together. Sairam.
Brother Vijay?
Sairam, yes, it's been a pleasure. I was born in Trinidad, as you all know, so Trinidad is very dear to me, and it breaks my heart when I look at and see the state of the country with the economy and the crime and everything. And I consider this a great blessing from our beloved Swami, that we can, think well of what's happening there, and we can send some, do something positively to change and to give the people in that region hope that, that God really loves Trinidad. And just to reiterate something Swami said, Swami once said this, and Faiz, you know this, that Trinidad is the apple of my eye. Am I correct in saying this?
Yes, his exact words, Brother Vijay.
Yeah.
He said there's a little island in the Caribbean that is the jewel of my eye. It's Trinidad.
Yes. So this is great. This is wonderful, and this is his blessings. So I want to close by saying that, my solemn prayer is that, Bhagwan has given us the opportunity for this to happen, and that we should embrace it with immense love and affection for him. Sairam.
Brother Arun?
Sairam, brother, while you were talking about that, the problems, the crime and things like that, I was reminded of, Sage Vishwamitra coming to the court of Dasharatha and saying, I have to perform a yagna so that, the adharma is under control, and I need your sons to come and protect it. We read them like stories, but I think these stories tell us that in our own humble ways, small ways, we can also undertake something like that. And God will come and protect, and he will do the rest, just the way Sri Rama went and did, which human beings cannot do. But we can do our part. So we can pray, and then he will come, and we will do our bit, and he will take that little seed, and he will work wonders and miracles. And thinking that it's an opportunity to be part of gives me such joy, Saira.
Thank you very much, brother. And Brother Vijay, as you know, just to remind, Trinidad, Trini, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So even in the name of Trinidad, it is very powerful. And I don't know if you all remember when Charles Penn had come in 1981, when a request was made for him to come to Trinidad, he prayed to Swami, and Swami, in a reverie, showed him Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago means to Baba go.
Yes.
So, brothers, the Sri Satya Sai Global Council Zone 1 wishes to express gratitude and appreciation to you all for taking the time to share your perspectives, Swami's teachings, give guidance and information, and to inspire all to this beautiful yajna that is going to take place in Trinidad in November, the first week of November. May Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba continue to bless and guide each and every one of us, and may we continue to be loving instruments in his divine mission. And as we close, as we were talking about the Vedic Yagya, I want to humbly request Brother Arun if he can close this discussion with some Vedic mantras.
Hari Om. Swasti prajapya paripalayantam nyayena margena mahim mahisha go brahmanebhya supamastu nityam samasta lokha sukhino bhavantu samasta lokha sukhino bhavantu samasta lokha sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti